When I was 14, I planned my wedding.
This One's Wife, podcast episode 4, Yet More BS. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Another Tuesday appears. That means it's time for more rubbish to be spouted by This One's Wife in another episode of our execrable podcast. Episode number 4 has appeared. Just as before, and just as will be, I haven't bothered listening to it. Got much more important things to do. But what I will do is analyse the breakdown provided in mainstream media of what has been discussed to help you understand more about her narcissism and to demonstrate how it is pervasive, how her narcissism infects everything she says and everything that she does. Mark Duell of the Daily Mail reports, This One's Wife today revealed she received business advice from her mentor and friend, Oprah Winfrey, ahead of launching her lifestyle brand as ever. Triangulation. This One's Wife said she had been in so much fear of failure or opinion. Pity play, but Winfrey gave her advice to encapsulate your essence in her business. Encapsulate your essence. What the fuck does that mean? Does it mean crack one off and jizz into a jar and decide to sell it? If you're saying to This One's Wife, encapsulate your essence, well, she has no essence. She's empty inside. So sell jars of nothing. Or the essence is her narcissism, which, of course, she doesn't know about. One wonders if Oprah came out with something as wanky as encapsulate your essence, or whether, and more likely, this is just another revision of history issued by This One's Wife. This One's Wife spoke about her friendship with Winfrey in the 4th episode of her new series Confessions of a Female Founder. She was interviewing IT Cosmetics co-founder Jamie Kern-Lima just one day after This One's Wife gave her first ever podcast interview yesterday to The Entrepreneur. So it would appear that the condition of Jamie Kern-Lima being involved was, I'll interview you and then you can interview me. Or in other words, I'll interview you so you can talk about yourself and then you can interview me so you can talk about yourself. Talking about the early days of her as ever business idea, that's rather pumping it up, isn't it? This One's Wife said, at the beginning, I just liked making jam. All I liked to do was just make jam and preserves. Bullshit. This One's Wife couldn't be bothered with doing that. She'd go and buy it. But this is another revision of history from the Duchess of Delusion, who wants to create some kind of backstory to why she does as she does. And it went from, okay, I'm going to share this jam with lots of friends and family. Well, you sent out some jam, don't know if you actually made it, as a consequence of the jam scam last year, but that didn't go very well, did it? So she said, I'm going to share this jam with lots of friends and family to people really like it and it brings me joy. I mean, talking in these terms, it's just so utterly toss. So maybe I can share it more broadly. Again, it's bollocks. It's utter bollocks. You didn't think to yourself, oh, people really like it and it makes me joy. What you thought about was, how can I make money out of this? Because money's hugely important to you. Because as a somatic narcissist, money is a prime aim which aids you with the pursuit of other aspects of your narcissism. But even then I was in so much fear of failure or opinion, pity play, that I wasn't thinking big enough at first. At the onset I thought, okay, I know what I can do. I'm going to go online. I can get what's called a cottage license, which you can get in the state of California, which means if you cook something in your home, you can sell it up to a certain amount at a farmer's market or somewhere small. And yet, this one's wife never sold anything at a farmer's market. And I thought, okay, well, that's great. I'll get my cottage license and I applied for one. And I just thought, I'll just do small batch jam from home. And I had to step back and look at what I was doing and saying, am I playing small because I want to play small? Or am I setting in motion playing small because I'm scared? Again, bollocks you did. You didn't think any of this. What you'd have done is you'd have thought to yourself, how can I make lots of money? And somebody pointed out to me, small batch jam isn't going to make you lots of money because you actually have to be labour intensive. Accordingly, what she decided to do instead was move to mass production, or rather make it seem like it's mass production with the expectation that somebody else would take that over and she would front it, as I've explained in parts passim. But all this horseshit about, am I playing small because I want to play small? Or am I setting in motion playing small because I'm scared? It's nonsense. This one's wife has known Winfrey for years, with her having been a guest at her wedding to Prince Harry in May 2018, and famously interviewing the couple in March 2021. And the Duchess said, Oprah, who I know is a mentor and friend to you, referring to Kern Lima, same for me, mirroring. She was the one that said, there are tons of things you could put your name on. But for you, and how you like to show up for people, once you figure out how to encapsulate your essence, then you'll know. Again, I just think this is invented bollocks from this one's wife, and that she never came up with any of this. This one's wife also spoke about how Kern Lima offered her advice as she was developing as ever. The Duchess said, for me, starting a company, it's newer. I am surrounded by very savvy businesswomen friends. You and I had just become friends, and I was talking to you about business. I remember you said to me, okay, so what's the timeline? I said, oh, a couple of months from now. You said that's too soon, and I didn't want to hear that, but you're right. Once again demonstrating that this one's wife knows shag all about business. You planted a seed that became a knowing for me. A what? You planted a seed that became a knowing for me. That's not even English. And it gave me the grace to have the space to take my time until it was right. God, the way this woman talks. To really not be concerned about, well, just pause for a moment, valuable viewer. Brace yourself for this piece of word salad. Are you ready? Okay. To really not be concerned about someone else's urgency, or the media's urgency, or speculation's urgency, somehow becoming my urgency. To wait until you're ready, even if I didn't want to hear it, it was the thing I needed to hear. Kern Lima then said, if all of a sudden our timelines are being pushed out or something, we think we did something wrong. We think, oh, everyone else sure looks like they have it together on social media or whatever. It must just be me. Because a lot of times when you look at companies or you look at businesses or anything online, you know you see the outcome or the external. Well, that's fair comment. And this one's wife continued, yes, they create the illusion of, here's the finished product and look at how great it is. It's just tied up with a bow and the bow is perfect as opposed to the process is not perfect. The process can be painful and it can be riddled with things that don't just make you question your business, they make you question yourself. Horseshit again. This one's wife doesn't question herself because her narcissism doesn't allow her to do it. Instead, she portrays the image of questioning herself in order to make it seem like she's deep, all part of the illusion that she creates in respect of herself. So far, so little in relation to business tips, but we've come to expect that when it comes to this misleading podcast, which really ought to be titled, This One's Wife, I Talk About Myself, repeatedly. Moving on, during the podcast, the Duchess also spoke about how she could not audition for beauty adverts due to her freckles. Yeah, maybe you just weren't attractive enough, but here's another bit of victimization and pity playing. She said, that would have been when I was an actor, auditioning for commercials, and I remember my commercial agent could not submit me for beauty or skincare ads because I had freckles. That's bullshit. I've seen advertisements for skincare which have women with freckles in them. Put some gingers in there, some hot redheads, bish bosh bash, they've got freckles. They're using the relevant lotion or cream. It's bollocks. Again, that's just an excuse that she's utilising to make it seem that she's prejudiced against, when in reality, they probably decided, look, you're not going to get anywhere because you aren't stunning enough, you aren't unusually enough looking, you're not going to get those gigs. She said her freckles were not considered as a sign of beauty, adding of the beauty industry of old, you couldn't see yourself reflected there. However, she spoke about how Kern Lima was using women of all ages, sizes and skin tones for models. That was such new thinking then, explained this one's wife. When you were bringing that to market, that was so unheard of. Now, it may seem more normalised. People listening now will be like, well, yeah, of course. It was not an of course. It was a revolutionary way to think about makeup and beauty at the time. Kern Lima founded her firm in 2008 after having trouble finding products to help her struggles with hyperpigmentation, and said she was rejected for 3 years straight. I'm fairly certain that Dove have been offering their products. I remember seeing them on television in the United Kingdom, which was based upon women of all shapes and sizes and ages and ethnicities, and they've certainly been doing that prior to 2008. So what Kern Lima's doing isn't revolutionary in that regard. We then get a bit of talk from Kern Lima about her experience of sending samples and so forth. But then this one's wife has to bring it back to her, naturally. She then spoke about how the rejection she suffered in acting auditions. She said, "Are you talking about all these no's for me? What was I doing before I was acting? Oh my gosh, oh please. I heard no all the time, especially because I wasn't cookie cut out for a specific type. At the start of my auditioning career, you were either the black girl or the white girl or the Latina girl. Everything was typecast. So being mixed, I could get into a lot of rooms. That meant as a numbers game, I heard no even more." So you're saying that your mixed race allowed you more opportunities, but then that meant you heard no more often. Well, that would follow, wouldn't it? That if you're getting more auditions because you're apparently mixed race, although your CV did say you were Caucasian, could it be that you were getting nothing to do with the fact of your skin colour or how you looked, but that you weren't a very good actress? Naturally, her narcissism is never going to allow her to believe that it's because she's a shit actress. But quite what this has got to do with business, her auditions, and her having freckles. Anyway, since the start of last month, the Duchess has launched her Netflix show with Love, Meghan and lifestyle brand As Ever, appeared at the Time 100 Summit, and posted a series of Instagram videos. It then goes on to talk about the launch of the podcast as well. She explained that in an interview, she was enjoying a new honeymoon feeling with Harry since they got a little bit of breathing space after quitting their royal duties. Once again, smearing of the royal family and some flattery, a little bit of a respite period for Harry. The article then really returns to the interview that she had with Kern Lima, which doesn't form part of her podcast. Accordingly, once again, we're subjected to more bullshit. Triangulation with Oprah Winfrey, the mirroring of the friendship with Oprah Winfrey, talking about herself in relation to her starting out with jam as a cottage industry, talking about how she had freckles and that meant she was rejected for beauty advertisements. Once again, this one's wife ensuring that she talks about herself, but isn't able to talk about anything material in relation to business because she neither has the experience or the ability. And another fail when it comes to the bullshit spouted by the Duchess of Delusion. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.